Hello and welcome to the history of Chester Zoo. If you're new around here, please click the subscribe button, like the video and click the bell icon for notifications. Let's jump in. George Mottershead was born in Sale Moor in Manchester. He had two brothers, Stanley Saul and Charles Saul, a sister Nora and a half-brother Albert. Mottershead was taken to Bellevue Zoo in Manchester in 1903 after the Second Boer War. He disliked seeing the animals in confined cages. He didn't like the Victorian style zoos where they were using iron bars to keep the animals in, and this is when the dream of owning a zoo was born. As a young lad, he started to experiment with aviaries and tanks and pet lizards and snakes. This is where his dream was born, to actually run a zoo. Following the outbreak of the First World War, George joined the South Lancashire Regiment. At least two of his brothers joined the Manchester Regiment, and they all served on the Western Front in France. George fought in the Battle of the Somme. He suffered a bullet wound to his neck, which injured his spine. He was initially paralysed, but recovered at Highfield Military Hospital in Knotty Ash. Unfortunately, like so many other brave men during the war, Albert and Stanley were killed during action. George recovered after using a wheelchair for 3 years. Following the wheelchair, he was able to walk with a limp. George and his family moved to Shavington in Cheshire in the 1920s. They operated a successful market garden and florist. Later, they went on to sell pet birds. George started to show his stock of birds and his private collection of animals to the paying public. And thus, the dream of a zoo was born. In December 1930, George's family paid £3,500 for 9 acres of plot, including Oakfield Manor, which was built around 1885, which is now a Grade 2 listed building. They managed to acquire 2 Himalayan black bears from a wildlife park in Matlock. Further on, they added monkeys, chimpanzees, birds and reptiles. The local residents were concerned about the dangers of the potential escaped animals, but following a public inquiry of Ministry of Health, they were granted permission to open the zoo in April 1931, and Chester Zoo opened to the public on the 10th of June 1931. In 1939, the Second World War broke out. In 1940, the Blitz began, where the bombing of England commenced. George tried to keep the zoo open during the Second World War, which he successfully did. In 1941, the zoo acquired 2 elephants. With the Second World War over, the zoo began to grow fast. One of the zoo's slogans back then was always building. George's amazing energy, enthusiasm and skill earned him an OBE. He was an honorary Master of Science degree and at a term as President of the International Union of Zoo Directors. By the time George died in 1978, he was aged 84. George's dream came alive. It was a zoo without bars, which can still be seen today. There's little fences surrounding the exhibits with great ditches to stop the animals escaping. It's a big feat from the Victorian era of the metal bars that George had once seen at Bellevue. Jump forward from 1931 to 2020. The site is now 500 acres. The zoo itself takes up about 125 acres. That's more than 10 times the size of the first bit of land that George bought in 1930. There were now 170 buildings at Chester Zoo, from animals exhibits to shops, restaurants, toilet blocks and admin offices. Plus, of course, the original Oakfield House, the Grade 2 listed building which can be still seen today next to the play area, and stable block. Chester Zoo has now started a breeding programme. The Somatarian tigers are now part of that international breeding programme. Chester Zoo have said this week that unfortunately they're in a debt of an excess of £24 million. They've said that this will financially cripple us. They've also said they need to raise £1.6 million a month to keep going. This is following the COVID-19 outbreak. Off the back of this, the government haven't allowed Chester Zoo to reopen, and now Chester Zoo are in financial debt and need to raise money. So in the link below there will be a GoFundMe page to help raise money for Chester Zoo. I'm going to end the video on this. Chester Zoo have said, today we're not only the UK's most popular zoo and one of the top 15 in the world, we're also a highly respected centre for global conservation and research, and all because one little boy cared deeply about animals more than 100 years ago. Now, thank you very much for watching the video, really appreciate it. Hope you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification for updates. Thank you.